This is PT Meal Podcast, where we ingest and digest physical therapy information from physical therapists around the world with a Filipino twist. With your host, Johan De La Paz, a Filipino physical therapist who has worked in different practice settings from the Philippines and here in the US. Let's indulge and satisfy our cravings to learn and be inspired.
Welcome back to PT Meal Podcast, a buffet of play, therapies, movement, exercises, activities, and leisure, all packed in a hearty conversation of the physical therapy profession and practice with a Filipino flavor. I am Johan De La Paz, your host. This podcast is available on your favorite podcast streaming apps: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many more. You can also catch full episodes on YouTube. If you want to be in the loop on fresh episodes, updates, interview snippets, educational materials, follow our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can also check out PT Meal merchandise in Etsy.com. Just search for PT Meal Shop. That's PTMEAL Shop, one word. And all links and content are all available in the website, ptmealpodcast.com. So, let's begin. In this episode, still in celebration of Women's History Month, let's revisit some conversations I had with empowered women. First up is Jasmin Esguerra, who topped the December 2021 Philippine Physical Therapy Licensure exam. She shared her message to everyone getting ready to take their licensure exams. Next is Lady Servillas, an entrepreneur and business owner. She talked about smart use of social media in elevating our profession. Archelle Tiuseco described why it's essential to prioritize our patients' goals in neurorehabilitation. Jenny Youssef, a geriatric physical therapist, enumerates the qualities she thinks are important to succeed. Roxanne Fernandez shared a verse she lives by, as well as other elements that makes up her day. Katie Dayton, a critical care nurse practitioner, explains how she's desperate to let PTs know that they're vital in the ICU. And lastly, Jules Racho tells us why the first step to allyship is respecting pronouns. All right, so let's hop into it after this break. What is that one thing that you want them to carry with them after listening to our conversation?
So if you're listening, you're probably listening kasi you want to be a top-notcher din sa boards, di ba? So if you're aiming for that, syempre during board review, talagang aim for that talaga yung highest talaga. And basta review ka lang talaga and tiwala ka lang sa mga review mo. Kaya ako kasi nung nag-board exam ako, parang wala rin ako sa tiwala sa inaral ko, para feel ko kulang pa siya, ganun. Kahit na 1 year na kami ng palagay na yun pero kinabahan pa rin ako. Feeling ko hindi pa ako prepared, hindi pa ako ready pa rin, ganun. Pero pagdating mo doon, may isip mo na okay na talaga, enough na talaga yung inaral mo, prepared ka na talaga for the board exam. And I think yung last nang nasasabihin ko nga is, ako napaka-importante talaga sa akin nung take care of yourself during the board exam talaga for the board review preparation. Yun talaga. Kasi yung mental health mo talaga mas challenging talaga, lalo na ngayon, online, pandemic pa, naka-lockdown pa minsan, hindi ka pa makalabas, ganun. And syempre yung friends mo, hindi mo sila makita personally. Ako, we just do Zoom calls din eh. Yung mga video call and FaceTime lang eh. So yun, still keep in touch pa rin sa kanila kahit na nagre-review ka. Kasi sila yung magki-keep sa'yo sane talaga during the board review eh. Hindi lang naman pwede puro aral ka lang talaga. Mahirap talaga pag ganun. Pero yun, focus ka pa rin. Keep your priorities. Pero at the same time, enjoy mo rin yung board exam review kasi it's really a rewarding experience kapag nakapasa ka na ng board exam. Parang may natanggalan ka na ng tinik sa puso or something. Pag nakita mo na yung pangalan mo sa list talaga ng board exam passers. So yun.
In order for us to elevate our profession of physical therapy, what should we do individually or as a group?
like in order to elevate our profession, I think at this era we have to
Mhm.
use social media.
Mhm.
You know, like not be able to be scared to share your personal experiences as a physical therapist, because again, like people people buy into something based on their emotions. If they see you treating somebody, or like if they see you like making somebody feel better,
Mhm.
that's when they're thinking like, you know what, I do want to become a better therapist, or I do want to go to I do want to become a physical therapist. So don't be afraid to share your story, because it's true to life, right? That's how
Mhm.
we're going to get people be more involved and be better clinicians.
Mhm. And that's the key to social media. I feel is the emotion that what you put out invokes to
Mm-hmm.
with other people. If they can relate to your story, they buy into your uh you know what you're selling, your products, your services, because they can see themselves in you, or they
Exactly.
can see themselves in the people that you help.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, like, don't be afraid of social media, you know. I'm also not the type that loves being in front of camera or putting a video. I mean, it doesn't even have to be me treating a client, or me, talking about physical therapy with other students. It's just capturing those moments where you see that, oh, I actually made a difference on this one,
Mhm.
or having like a live thing where you see the reaction of somebody because they made you feel better. I mean, you made them feel better. So those are, again, it's not the company that you sell. You always sell yourself. The
Mhm.
company bought in because of you. So
Mhm.
same thing for our profession. The people, patients will buy in more in believing the physical therapy can help them
Mhm.
by showing them.
Mhm. Right, right. I think that's where we're lacking as a profession, is that we don't get much hype, right,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
for what we do and who we are. We see in TV shows, we see doctors, we see nurses,
Nurses, exactly. Uh-huh.
we see people who draw blood, we
Mhm.
see, but we don't see physical therapists in their whole nature and their whole setting and specialties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are not, we should be our own media.
We should. I like that actually.
Uh-huh.
Definitely. If there's anything that with this podcasting right now, we
Mhm.
definitely have to be our own media. We have to be the one showing the world like we are a valuable part of being a physical therapist, because as you recall before, even with the COVID happens, like, is physical therapy really a part of as the frontliner?
Right, right. That was a
Right.
question. I mean, that shouldn't even be a question.
Exactly, but people don't know because we never put it out there how important our role is in
Mhm.
healthcare.
Yeah, it was question that, are we even essential? And even like some physical therapists think that we're not essential, that we're not supposed to be working during COVID. I mean, we get people moving, and COVID stops people from moving.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So we're supposed to be there. We're supposed to be here or important. Nice. Hi, so Mom Archelle, what would be your message for PTs who are managing patients that have like neurological symptoms like this,
Okay.
like certain.
Being a neuro PT is also tough because
Mhm.
there are so many things you need to consider. And not just neurologic conditions, there could be additional conditions like cardiovascular and so on and so on. So there are a lot of things really needed to be considered. But at the end of the day, it's our patient who should be our main priority. I think in our profession, it's a 40-60 ratio, wherein 40 would be coming from us, the knowledge, the skills, and all, and then 60 will be a patient factor. So we really have to make the patient understand why they are going through the process, at the same time making sure that they really see the outcome of what you are doing. Prior to starting a program, since I'm a teacher, I always make sure that they understand what they are doing. And at the same time, I also tend to involve the family because, again, at the end of the day, it's gonna be the family who will be with the patient all the time. Tayo kasi minsan 1.5 hour lang and all. So it's a collaborative effort from the rehab professionals and the family. Kaya I always say na it's a 40-60 ratio. So
Very important. Support.
Yeah.
Family.
Very important. Kasi I agree, no? I agree with certain. Even though you have the program, but yet the patient doesn't maximize what's the purpose of it. So we won't be meeting halfway. That's why I'm very lucky. I'm blessed to be meeting certain as my patient. Kasi
Talaga lang.
Kasi I think it was the perfect recipe for recovery. Aminin natin, no, sa physical therapy, sa kurso na, sa profession natin, it's like putting a little dose of faith kung gagaling or hindi yung pasyente eh. Pero eto, I'm happy that we were able to achieve the ultimate long-term goal in less than a year. Kasi nga, magaling din yung pasyente. Ayun naman. Saka, and he really follows instructions. Lahat ng mga sinasabi ko, sinusunod niya. And kahit wala kaming therapy, he really
not before. No,
really,
yes.
Yeah, he really does things on his own. For example, we had therapy like for 1 hour, papahinga lang siya. So tutuloy ulit siya kahit wala kaming therapy. So I guess, again, that is one of the greatest thing that happened in his journey to recovery. There is, in fact, an ultimate collaboration between patient and physical therapist and the rest of the rehabilitation professional. So my message for my fellow PPs, one thing is that you have to put yourself your patient's shoes. What do they need? Okay. And then of course you also need to balance what's the current dynamics within the family. Kasi with that you can really understand if the goal of your patient. And again, we have to think outside the box. Your creativity is your limit. So you have to be dynamic and open to change.
What is your recipe for success?
Oh, recipe for success. So I can say that it's really important to know your why, first of all. So we have a goal. And then always pray hard for pray to God for a like a foundation, or like, so you always have a guidance. And then also be sure that, as I've said, when you're having a goal, you need to invest in yourself. You need to learn. You need to learn so you can educate. And be humble, like down to earth, whatever. Because whatever we have right now is just all like borrowed, it's not really ours.
That's
so true. I really want to do all these things so I can serve other people. So I think being a leader is like you're able to serve other people and you're able to follow. So I think for me, that's the road for success. And just be persevere, be persistent, and they said like the grit, So be persistent, and your time will come. So I think that's be comfortable outside your comfort zone. I always think of that. I really didn't know that I would be in this, like looking at you, be in the camera, because I am shy.
You're shy?
So yeah, I don't know. I'm so shy, right? So I don't know how to, but other people said, just go out there, Jen, because you want to educate people, just be the voice. So be comfortable to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So that's be outside your bubble, because there will be no growth if you don't have a change, something like that. So I think that's all important when you're dealing and want to be in your success. I don't know if that's a recipe of that. I don't know like how many percent of this and this.
Yeah, it's gonna be unique for everyone, but that's good. That's a good answer. Kumbaga pag sa Powerpuff Girls, sugar, spice, and everything nice. Pero Ma'am Rox, ano yung 3 ingredients of Roxanne Fernandez?
Una siguro nung kanina din. Siguro yung same lang din nung kanina. Connected naman siya palagi. Yun nga, yung faith ko laging nandun all throughout. Kasi hindi ko naman to kayang gawin, 'di ba? Na sarili ko lang. Lagi kang ask ka ng wala kang impossible sa kanya, 'di ba? So lagi ka lang mag-a-ask sa kanya. May mga difficulties, may struggles, may mga uncertainties, may mga questions ka palagi. Pero lagi ka lang dasal, pray, talk to them. Madami kasi sila, hindi lang naman isa, 'di ba? May madami sila. And then yung Bible verse lagi ko sinasabi, John 13:7. John 13:7, I said, you do not realize what I'm doing right now, but later on you will. 'Di ba? Kasi tama naman pala, kaya pala masasabi mo, kaya pala. Minsan, ba't ka kaya nakilala tong taong to? Ay, kaya pala. Ba't ako napunta sa institution na to? Ay, kaya pala. Ba't ko siya nakita? Ba't ko ito ginawa? Ay, kaya pala. So, lahat connected. So, minsan nawawala yung napaka-overthinker ko kasi. Nawawala yung yung gano'n, yung anxiety ko na parang hindi ko tato kaya. Ba't kaya nangyari to? Ba't ang tagal? Ba't hindi pa nangyayari? Tagal naman, Lord. Parang gano'n. Lagi yun, nag-ansamay ko. John 13:7, John 13:7, John 13:7. Be patient, Roxanne, be patient. Okay? Be patient. So yun, John 13:7. The next, ancora imparo. Ancora imparo is meaning I'm learning, right? So, I'm learning. So, Rox, life is a learning process. Hindi lang sa PhD. So, kahit natapos ako sa PhD, Rox, okay lang magkamali. Tao ka lang. Natututo ka. So, always, pag may bago, Roxanne, I'm learning, ancora imparo. So, John 13:7, John 13:7. Pag hindi ko pa siya alam, I'm excited na matutunan ko. Pero alam ko, difficult. Yan, ancora imparo. I'm learning. Then last, siguro lagay ko na lang na be true to yourself. Try to be authentic. Don't compare yourself, diba, sa ibang tao. Kasi iba-iba ka. Iba-iba ka. Siguro yun. Faith, I'm learning, and then last, try not to compare yourself. Kasi pag kinompare mo yung sarili mo, walang mangyayari kasi lagi kang nakaano sa standard nila. Ba't siya ganito? Ba't ito nakuha niya? Ba't ito ganito? So, hindi. So, iba yung life mo sa kanila, iba yung gusto mo sa kanila. So, focus on your life, Roxanne. Yun lang.
What do you want to express to the listeners of the show, mostly physical therapists, about what everyone in the ICU team can do for patients in the ICU?
I am desperate for physical therapists to know how vital they are in saving lives in the ICU, and then giving patients lives worth living. I think every hospital system has a different utilization, different staffing of physical therapists. And I think it's time for physical therapists to demand to be full-time in the ICU, not just visiting the ICU, popping in and out. You are part of the ICU. I think you should be part of rounds. You have a right to ask and educate about sedation. If your team is deeply sedating every patient on a ventilator, as an ICU team member, you have a right to ask, why is this patient sedated? And if they say because they're intubated, you have my permission to slap them. Or to just tactfully ask, okay, but is being intubated on mechanical ventilation an evidence-based indicator for sedation? And you contact me and I will give you all the evidence, because airway mobility while intubated is safe and feasible in the ICU during acute respiratory failure. You cannot convince me otherwise. But it can be your job and your mission to convince the rest of your team. I have physical therapists pulling me in for webinars. I do multidisciplinary webinars. I want everyone sitting there at Zoom listening to this information, because until everyone's on the same page and informed of this, you guys can't do your job. But you have every right and an obligation to share the information you have. It's important that the whole team understands your role in the ICU. There's lots of silly stuff going on, thinking that physical therapists are just there to move flaccid limbs. You didn't get your doctorate for that. Like the family member can do that. You're there to get them alive and functional. And you can't do that if we don't work together to overcome these sedation practices. So educate people on your role, advocate, ask. You have your doctorates, you know how to understand and apply the research. Ask for the evidence. Don't just say, okay, well, that's just what they do here. That's not good enough. Say, why? Why do they need to be sedated? Why can't they move? You might not be everyone's favorite, but you're gonna be a hero if you do those things. Pull everyone together and talk about what your role should be on the ICU team. How can you collaborate better with nursing, RTs, OTs, everyone to move these things forward? Be leaders. You have every right to be leaders. If your staffing ratios aren't adequate, again, bring the evidence. Early mobility saves hospital systems money substantially. Use the research to as leverage to make sure that you have good staffing ratios, that you have that presence, that you hire more if needed. And then, so that's the role in the ICU. You should be there. There should be PT and OT orders upon admission for almost every single patient in the ICU. None of this, once they're extubated or 30 days later, you're not the cleanup crew. You are the saviors. You prevent the harm. Okay. And so be confident in that. And don't be afraid to say it. If you're afraid to say it, then again, bring me in for webinars. I don't mind saying it. I'm a good hitman. They can hate me. They can throw whatever at the screen and I peace out. I will say the hard things because I believe in you guys.
Ikaw naman, Jules, like how can a physical therapist become an ally in dealing with members of the LGBTQ community?
I guess I'd say, no, first and foremost, respect the pronouns, regardless of your colleague or your patient. Like, I know for some it could be really very awkward to ask for a person's pronoun, but you can start by saying, "Hi, my name is Jules. I'm a physical therapist. My pronouns are she and her. How about you?" Because that, especially if you're confused, if you're dealing with somebody, maybe like Regina, like I don't know, the name's Regina, but I'm seeing someone who presents themselves like a guy. I don't know what pronouns they would prefer. You can start the conversation by something like that. You start by introducing yourself and then ask them. And that way you would already feel that you're inclusive, that you are respecting them.
Right.
Start with that one. I think that's number one. And number two, with our colleagues and our patients, I'd say tolerance, I'm lucky that most of my patients really see me as their physical therapist. I'd say 99% of the time. And I always set that boundary that I am your physical therapist, you are my patient, we are not friends. Like, I would establish a good rapport, but there's a boundary. Yes, I do that. And I guess in our profession, we should always have that boundary as well. Because when a patient sees you as their therapist or someone who's professional or someone's there to help them, they would not dare cross that boundary because they will respect you. They will respect you because you're a good therapist. So they would realize that regardless of your gender preference, you could be trans, lesbian, or gay, they would realize that you're there to help them and that you are capable of doing your job and practicing your profession. And then from then, the conversation would just stop. Do not let your patient close their doors to you because of your gender preference or, sexual preference. Just show them what you can do and, they'd appreciate it.